Thank you for being here. A little early show on a Tuesday. Welcome to the Helpful Honda Sound Space at KROQ. My name is Miles the DJ. Thrilled to present this performance and interview. There's going to be a conversation first beforehand. The Hives, their new record, The Hives Forever the Hives, dropping on August 29th. There's a, make some noise. Make some noise for the new record. They're going to go on tour, Palladium, on September 25th. Make some noise, our friends from Sweden, The Hives. Nicholas, everybody.
Hello, gang.
Hi.
Full house.
Let's go. Let's go. Tuesday, a little after 1 o'clock. We're not screwing around here. Welcome, The Hives.
Thank you.
To KROQ.
Thank you.
Congrats on the new music. Congrats on just your life in general. You're a successful rock band. That's amazing. Pelle, I've heard you kind of talk about how, not to call anyone out here, but sometimes bad bands make a lot of money and do really well. Good bands.
That's like the index most of the time.
That's what I'm saying, right? And sometimes really good bands, they kind of come and go. You guys have figured out a way to be a really good band and successful somehow, just like kind of doing what you do.
Thank you very much. For extended periods of time, too.
This is a question I was really excited to ask you, so I wrote it down. So here we go. How do you stay focused on quality without burning out or becoming disillusioned with the industry?
You don't.
Yeah, we're both burned out.
Stay disillusioned and burned
Who's
out.
not disillusioned?
Yeah, exactly. We're constantly burned out and disillusioned by the industry, but just plowing on, basically.
Well, we appreciate you being here at KROQ today. A lot of consequential, KROQ royalty involved with this upcoming album. Mike D of Beastie Boys, I understand. Yeah. He flew out to Sweden just to meet with you. I know Queens of the Stone Age also involved Josh a little bit. How did their input kind of influence the music and the record that's coming out?
Yeah, it was really helpful. I mean, we were thinking about who has cool sounding records, and that's the Beastie Boys. So we figured if our record's going to sound cool, we should get him involved. And he flew over and stuff, and also sent us some stuff, which was great. And Josh more kind of in a cheerleader capacity, like when we were trying to work on the quality, he said it's already good. And that was very helpful. Because we can kind of shoot above the goal sometimes. Like, you can't make it too good. It'll never be... We got to keep a balance of popular and good, which is really hard, You want to be so popular that you can keep doing it, but not so popular that the music sucks. Which is a hard balance to tread.
Nicholas, do you guys ever have situations where you have a song that you hear that, whoa, this would be really popular. This could be huge on the radio. This could be, and it may not fit in line with what the Hives does, as Pelle's kind of talking about, and you kind of scrap it or move on. Has that ever happened where a song is too good that the world's not ready for it?
Well, yeah, I guess. I mean, a lot of times we don't have songs that are what you describe, but rather parts. We'll have a verse that'll be the best thing that anybody's ever heard, and then we'll work on that for years and years, kind of. So that's more kind of the way it goes a little bit. But yeah, I mean, every once in a while there's something that, maybe doesn't fit, but when we start playing stuff, it'll always kind of sound like the Hives. Once you introduce it into the Hives universe, it'll sound like the Hives. Because even, you got to go pretty far to have it not sound like the Hives.
Speaking of the Hives, that's who this is. They rule. I love your presentation. We've all been such fans for so long. Pelle, I heard a rumor that, and by the way, for those interested or paying attention to such things, it's WrestleMania season right now, and I heard a rumor that you kind of maybe grew up on wrestling. You're a fan a little bit, and I'm just kind of wondering, with regards to persona, presentation, just kind of how that world works. Is there any correlation or similarities with what the Hives does? and the world of professional wrestling.
Yeah.
It's like 50% WWF and 50% James Brown.
Yeah. That's the sweet spot. 50-50. WWF and James Brown.
I heard that you were looking into being a psychologist potentially before the Hives kind of
Yeah, it's
blew
just like
up.
I had to do, because I figured if we're playing good music, we won't be popular enough to make a living, so I got to make a living, and psychology was interesting to me, but like everybody who studies psychology, it's mostly about figuring out what's wrong with yourself. And then I realized I don't want to sit in a room and listen to people feel bad for 8 hours a day. Instead, I want to be in front of a lot of happy people. Yeah, so here I am.
Contributing to our happiness, so thank you for that.
I'm trying, and you're contributing 2 hours.
Adding to that, again, the Hives Forever, the Hives, the new album coming out on August 29th. With the title, The Hives Forever, Forever the Hives. I know you guys opened for the Stones on their 40 Licks tour, like back in, I think, the mid-2000s or so. What was it like, touring with them, a forever band in their own right? Now you're turning into that 30 years in. Like, what was that experience? Did you learn anything from the Stones? Any behind the scenes stories?
Yeah, we were in Mick Jagger's dressing room, and we figured we might as well, ask him a question.
He's there.
Do you have any tips? And yeah, I do actually. He said, and it was never buy your own yacht, always borrow a friend's.
Invaluable information, because we were just about to buy a yacht each, so that really helped. And no, I mean, it was the first time we saw people that were doing what we were doing and had been doing it for a very long time. I think before that we assumed that you had to quit at a certain point in time, but just like realizing that, I mean, if you're like an engineer, there's a lot of times you can meet people that have been engineers for 40 years, but very rarely can you meet a rock band that's been active for 40 years. And it just seemed like such a great thing to just keep going. So thank you, Rolling Stones.
A little before that time, there was that sort of like iconic period where you were kind of lumped in with like the Vines and the Strokes and the White Stripes. There was I think an MTV VMAs segment where you performed. There was I think the Vines were on the cover of Rolling Stone once, and you were mentioned as well. Like, did it make sense for you back then to be lumped into that? Was that correct? Was there like friendly competition? What was that experience like for you, and just being associated with those bands back then?
Well, some of those bands were great, and kind of became friends of ours, and it was kind of a relief that, the music we loved became popular, and also kind of a surprise, like, because you got to remember, like, we weren't that similar, but I think a musical movement is usually about pants. It's like, new metal, big pants, grunge, torn pants, this quote-unquote garage rock revival, tight pants. And the sound wasn't that similar, but we did wear similar types of pants.
Sure.
And before that, it was like new metal, which had very big pants, so it went from big pants to small pants. So in that way, it made a lot of sense for us to be lumped in with those other bands.
We've gone away from the smaller pants now for some reason again, so we're...
Well, that's dignity, I think.
Was it weird? Like, you guys have been a band for like 7 years at that point, right? It wasn't like you were this new band, so was it kind of strange to...
I think it was really good for us, like that we had been a band for 7 years, and some, like the other bands were like 3 months into their band and they blew up, and like the first thing they did was a ginormous success, and then you got to live with a life where it's kind of like that for 20 years or whatever, which I think is way harder, whereas our life kind of sucked as a band, and then for 7 years it kind of struggled along and then got really popular, so we kind of knew that that wasn't the index, which I think was really good. So we figured, we're going to be popular for a couple of years, and after that, we'll have more fans than we did before, but here we are, still popular.
And one thing, having seen the band perform, live fairly recently, Just Like Heaven, No Vacancy, Belasco, I think maybe you played a year or two ago. We're playing the Palladium in September. One thing
which I think is our biggest ever LA show.
September 25th, I believe.
Yeah, so everybody must go.
One thing I notice watching the Hives is we're reminded often, and it's a correct statement, that the Hives are the greatest band on the planet. So we all know that. But outside of that band, who's right here, who do you think? Let's go down the line. The best band on the planet. Favorite band?
There you go.
Ramones.
I wore a Ramones t-shirt today. Look at that. That's some synergy right there, my friend.
Serendipity.
He's just saying stuff that he can see.
Lamp.
But I'll agree. I could go Ramones as well, or AC/DC even. I thought you meant like a... Well, actually, they're kind of current, I guess. But yeah, both great bands.
Couple more questions, and then they will play songs for the audience. Thanks again for being here, everybody, and coming to KROQ at the Helpful Honda Sound Space. Enough is Enough. That's the single. That's a song we're going to hear today. It's off the upcoming record. It's been all over KROQ since it dropped.
Great.
So
Keep it up.
Thank you for the quality music that's new that we can play for our audience.
Thanks for noticing.
It's it's chaotic. It's loud. It grabs attention from like the first note and then certainly the first lyric. How important was it to lead with a message like that, both lyrically and sonically? Because you hear it and you're like, whoa, this is a song. Let's go. We'll hear it later.
Yeah, I think it's pretty important. Like, you want something that makes you go, startles you a little bit. And it was like as close as a kind of state of the world address, how we felt about things basically when writing the song. But I love an outrageous opening line in rock and roll. I think it's one of my favorite things, such as I'm a street walking cheetah with a heart full of napalm. Or there's a Bon Scott one of AC/DC that I really love that goes, I'm hot and when I'm not, I'm cold as ice. Like, that's great, you know. You immediately like that stuff.
Different subject matter, but it kind of reminds, speaking of the Ramones, like a 53rd and 3rd kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Like just, again, different, context or content rather, but just like, wow, like this is cool.
Yeah.
This is grabbing my attention. Well, I think what we should do is, let's hear it again for the Hives. So here at KROQ. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to be here. The record comes out in August, and we're going to take a couple minutes to break all this down, and then you're going to come back on stage and play some songs.
And grab your attention.
Let's do this. Thank you, everybody. We'll be right back.
Thank you very much.
See you soon.